Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful summer dress yourself. It has midi length, a beautiful button placket, a tie belt, and is very summery and yet somehow chic. First you need the pattern. You can either download it at my website for free, or if you want to support me, from my Etsy shop. At the website, please choose your language first. Then the download will also contain the instruction in your language. And then decide for a size. If you're not quite sure which size to choose, check the table for the measurements. Then download your corresponding size. This might take a little moment as 3 files are being zipped together. In the meanwhile, you can follow me on Instagram if you'd like to see more updates, or also give the video a thumbs up. And yes, once the download is completed, you can see 3 files inside: the instruction, the pattern itself, and the layout plan. I would recommend you to read the whole instruction before starting, also before buying fabric, because there's everything explained, the link to the video included, the materials that you need, the different pattern pieces, how to cut them exactly. So make sure to read this one. Then we have the layout plan, so how you need to place the different parts on the fabric. And then the pattern itself, obviously. You have an overview of how you need to glue the DIN A4 pages together. And then here you have a scale, and we need to make sure that the centimeters match. So really important here for the size or for the scale, please use 100%. And then I would also recommend you printing the first size of the real pattern, which is page 3 once, and then compare here the centimeters that they really match with the real centimeters of your ruler. Yes, then we need to cut out the pieces according to the layout plan. And I did a little step in between because my fabric was like really flowy and I couldn't really fold it properly. So I transmitted all the pieces that need to be cut on the fold on some normal paper. And I did cut them out so that I do not have to cut them in the fold, but I just have like real pattern pieces, which I can just then place on the fabric. You can of course also just fold the fabric and place this piece on the fold and then unfold it again. But this was the way that I decided to use, but everything is basically fine. And one more thing, for example, the sleeves or every part which has like a left and a right part, make sure to flip the pattern before, as I'm doing it here, flip the pattern before you cut this second piece. And here I needed to interrupt my cutting, which was really annoying because I needed to lay out the fabric like really nicely again. So make sure to do this all in once. Then you have less work. And basically just cut out all the patterns, and then we see each other for the sewing part. Okay, I know this isn't really fun, but now we have all the pieces that we need, and now the fun part begins. First, we need to sew the front piece to the back piece, and you will have 2 front pieces here already. I accidentally cut them out on fold, and I will cut them apart later, but you can save this step as you already have 2 pieces. And we need to attach the 2 front pieces to the back piece. And here we want to close the shoulder seams. So place them on top of each other, right side on right side. So the beautiful side should be inside, laying on top of each other. And we look at the side which will be later inside the dress. And then we close the shoulder seams. I used first my normal machine. I then discovered that I think I will use my overlock for every seam that I do to just have a nice and clean finish. If you do not have an overlock, you can also just use a zigzag stitch. But here I first closed the shoulder seams with my normal machine, and then here with the overlock or with the serger. The next steps already that we attach the sleeves, and here important, the left part is the front part and the right part is the back part. So I mark the sleeve as it is not 100% symmetrical, but nearly, so just mark to be sure that you will find which one you need. And then we attach the sleeves right side on right side. There's a little mark at the center, and this mark should match up with the shoulder seam. Here also right side on right side, and then pin it the whole sleeve into the armhole. Okay, this is how it should look like now. We pinned the sleeve into the armhole, and then we sew this whole line so that the sleeve is attached to our main part. I used my serger as well for this one. Same procedure for the whole dress. If you do not have one, just use the normal machine and then finish the edge with a zigzag stitch. It prevents like seams from, looking messy and dissolving basically. And then we need to close the arm and the side seam. So therefore, we also put it right side on right side together. Here I started with the end point of the sleeve, let's say, and I wanted to make sure that the seams matched up exactly, and here, and then I pinned to the end of the sleeve and also pinned to the end of the side seam until the waist. This is how it should look like, and then same, sew this line. This is the finished result. Give it a nice press with your iron, and then do the same for the other side. And this is how it looks now. You have already two different pieces. This is what I do now. I just cut it. So now it should look like yours. And now we continue with the skirt. So we choose the back center first. Obviously the short side is the top and the larger one should be the bottom where the hem is. And then we choose one side part for the back skirt, and we place it right side on right side on the centerpiece. So this is how it should look. And then we want to flip it over, fold it, and pin the right side on right side. We pin all the way to the bottom, and then of course we also sew, same serger or overlock, or if you do not have, sew once normal and then finish with a zigzag stitch. You could also just leave the zigzag stitch, then it looks a little bit more hand sewn if you look inside the skirt, but if you do not care, you could potentially save this step. And we iron this seam and then do the same for the other side. So we have the back skirt finished. Then we continue with the center front. You already, same for the top, and you already have two different pieces. I have like one, but I will cut it in two sides later on. Never mind, we continue with the skirt for the side, and we will, same for the back part, we will place it right side on right side and pin the long side together, sew it, and then iron it as well. And this of course we will also do for the other side. So for the left one, place it right side on right side, sew, etc. So this is how it should look like now. For you, two different sides. And we will now close the skirt. So we will sew the side seams together. And here I did the side seams and I already opened like my middle. So this is how it should yours should look like this now as well. And then we take our elastic and we measure the exact length of our skirt, and then this elastic we will pin to our top part. So we will start at one end, we will attach the elastic here. First we of course clean or overlock our seam so that we have a nice bottom, and then we will attach the elastic to our upper part. And here I wanted to make sure that the elastic distributes evenly over the whole piece, so I always first pin the middle middle of the elastic as well as middle of the of our front piece or upper piece, let's say, and then we attach the elastic to our fabric part, whatever. And I actually would recommend you to use a zigzag stitch here. I think it's just nicer for elastic things. Here also make sure to just pull gently on the elastic so that it lays flat, and then attach it to the fabric. Once this is done, it should look like this. And now we want to attach the skirt to the upper part. So the skirt also I overlocked it, and then we place the top right side on right side to the skirt, and here as well try to distribute the fabric evenly so that everything is nice distributed. You could always choose the middle and then continue to the smaller middle, etc. We check if we pinned everything correctly. Yeah, it looks nice. And then we flip it back over and we sew. Important here, we need to sew on the left side of the overlock so that the overlock seam is not visible on the outside later. So here, make sure that the overlock seam is to the right, and we sew either on your elastic or next to it. It doesn't really matter. Just if you sew on the elastic, make sure to use a zigzag stitch as well. Okay, now it actually already looks like a dress, I would say. And we continue with the collar and the button placket. And first, the collar bar and the placket, we need to put it on an interface. I iron it like really shortly, that it's like a little bit sticky on the interfacing, and then I did cut out the pieces correctly, and I ironed it so that it really sticks on it. And here also for the button placket, you can do it twice. So if you cut the interfacing and then continue as in from a new continue. It doesn't really matter, and this is also how I showed it at the layout plan. Then fold 0.5 centimeter inside, and then the whole thing again at the half. So here 0.5 centimeter at both sides, and then to the middle. This is your button placket, and this one we will attach now to our dress, let's say. And here I start at the top. Use also 0.5 centimeters seam allowance. And then I discovered that it's a little bit easier to first pin the bottom part, one side, and then remove the pins again and attach it completely. You can basically do it however you like, just the button placket needs to come to the dress. So I first, pinned one side, and then the other side you could do the same or do it however you like. This is how it should look in the end. And then we need to sew or top stitch this seam. I used, 2 or 3 millimeters next to the end of the button placket, and sew all the way down. And as we fold it inside the 0.5 centimeters on both sides, we have a really nice and clean finish on the front side, but also on the back side of the dress, or of the button placket, let's say. Yeah, this is how it should look like now. I also show you the inner part, also clean and neat. And this step we will repeat for the other side. And then we continue with the collar. Here we place so we have one collar with interfacing and one without, and then we sew here the long side together. Also pin it and then sew it. Here, by the way, no overlock is needed. So here I really just use my normal sewing machine, no overlock. And then we fold the collar open and we iron it and press it, the interface, also the seam allowance, to the side of the not interfaced collar one. And then we top stitch it because we do not want to show the inner collar to the outside, let's say. So here I ironed the interfacing to the other side, and then I top stitch the seam allowance from the other side. You could also just ignore this step, but yeah, as I just mentioned, it makes the collar lay more flat and nice and evenly, and the inner part will not show on the outside. Then I just fold it back together and iron it, and then you see on one side you have the seam and on the other it is not visible. Then we will close the collar at the sides. So here open it again and pin the small sides together, and then here we will also sew the small side. And you can also cut the corner so that when we turn it now, that it's not so bulky at the edges. I would recommend you doing this. Your first part of the collar is nearly ready. We continue with the collar bar, I think it's called. And here also iron 0.5 centimeters to the inside. And then here the side with the seam, place it on the collar bar, and pin it. So here I also just checked where the center exactly is, and I marked this one with a pin. And then I also marked the center of the bar, marked it with a pin, and then here place it right side on right side together and pin the whole collar to the collar bar. Now we sew this whole line. We can also check before, does it look like it should? Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to. So now we will sew these two pieces together. Okay, this is how it should look like now, from one side and from the other. And then we will place the other collar bar that we have with no interfacing. We place it on top of the collar bar, so the collar itself is in the middle, and then we pin it and we sew the whole edge that I show you here in the video, right side on right side. Make sure that it's nice and flat here. You can also see my fabric is like really loose, and it was kind of difficult, but yeah, it's also possible. So here the corner, also for the corner, make sure to if you turn your fabric, to let your needle inside of the fabric so that your stitch is evenly, and then sew the whole collar bar, or like at least like 3 of the 4 sides. Yes, this is how it should look like. Now you can like fold the collar bar down and give it a good press with your iron. This is how it looks once it is ironed. One side we have like the 0.5 centimeters folded inside before we put them together. And now we attach the collar to the dress itself. So here again, check where your middle is, mark it, check where the middle of the dress is, mark it, and then start from one end, attach the middle and both ends, and then, yeah, just attach the whole collar to your dress. Perfect. This is how it should look like now. We can also check, is everything correct? And then sew the whole line that we have pinned. Here also a normal machine, no serger, no zigzag stitch is needed. So just use your normal sewing machine. Okay, now the whole collar is attached. And you can basically just then fold it over, flip it over. And as we have ironed these 0.5 centimeters before, or maybe, cut the loose threads and everything that we don't need, but fold it over now. And as we have ironed these 0.5 centimeters, we have now like a clean edge, which we can now pin on top of our dress and then later top stitch it. But just make sure when you pin it that all the inner things are inside and it looks nice and clean and no seams or other threads are visible. And I pinned the whole collar and then we top stitch it really close to the corner, to the edge, and attach the collar completely to the dress. Perfect. And we will continue with the belt. Therefore, fold it in half, right side to right side, and iron it. This is how it looked like when it's ironed. And then we sew over the long side of the belt, sew everything together, and we can also close one side completely. I used my overlock because it's just easier for handling the fabric. In my case, you can also just use a normal the normal machine. It really doesn't care at this point. It doesn't matter, sorry. And then we need to turn the whole belt. I used the loop turner, I guess. I attached the end of the thread to the turner and then turn the whole loop inside out. You can also use like a bobby pin or any other method that you like. And then I ironed it, and I ironed it that the seam is at one side, so not in the middle. And then we fold like everything inside the belt for the side that we still need to close. And then you can either do a blind hem, or I just top stitched it because I thought that's pretty enough for me. But you can use whatever method you like. So then we have the dress, we have the belt, then we just need to finish the button placket. So we need the buttonholes and the button itself. Here you can basically make whatever you like. I started 1 centimeter from the collar, and then I used 6.5 centimeters between every button. So I started on the left side with the buttonholes, and I marked them with the end of the pins. And between these two holes, I had the 6.5 centimeters in between. And so I continued for the whole button placket. And then you can either use the buttonhole thingy from your sewing machine, and I would recommend you in every case to just do it on a test fabric to create one hole and check if the button that you want to apply fits through. So my button had like, I think 1.3 centimeters width, and the buttonhole had 1.7, I guess, 6 or 7. But just test it on a fabric before you sew the actual buttonhole on your dress. Here I marked the height of the buttonhole, and I removed the pin and marked the place where the pin was, which is the top of my buttonhole. And then I marked the, I think, 1.6 centimeters to the end of the buttonhole. So, and also, like, if you use like a pencil like I did, make sure to test it. I tested it that it's removable from this specific fabric as well. And then you start. I think I'm not quite correctly using this foot for the buttonhole, but in every case, you need to start with like a really small step size, and the step width, so from left to right, also like really small. And then we do one side. Here I started at the left side of my buttonhole. And when you reach the end of your button, then do the length, stitch length to 0 and the width to 3 or 4, so that we have like the bottom part of the hole. Then again, back stitch, also like with small width and small length. And then at the end again, 0 for the length and for the width 3 or 4. And then you have this nice buttonhole, which we basically just need to cut cut the thread, and then open like really gently the buttonhole. I think I just used my scissor, my thread scissor for this one. But just be really, really gentle and careful so that you do not cut over your actual buttonhole, and then test that your button goes through. And then we continue to do this for all our buttonholes. And then basically the first thing was ready, and then I marked at the other button placket the exact place where the button should be placed, and then I used my button foot to attach it. Here also be really careful and start slowly, because if the needle does not hit the buttonhole but hits the button itself, of course it will break. So here be really careful. But it was actually for me also the first time that I attached a button with my machine, and it was really, really easy. And I wondered why I did do this per hand for like the last 10 years. But it was, I think, a really nice result. And then when you repeat this for all your buttons, then your dress is nearly ready. We just need to hem the end of the dress at the arms. So I just folded it over once and top stitched it with my normal sewing machine. And you have to do this on the arms and on the hem of the dress. Fold it in once or twice and then sew it. And then you're basically done. You can be really proud of yourself if you've sewn the dress this far. As always, I'm really interested to see what your version of the dress looks like. So please tag me on Instagram if you post it, or send me a picture by email. And other than that, I have currently one pattern I'm working on, but no ideas for after that yet. So if you have a specific garment you'd like me to make, feel free to comment what you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun sewing.